Welcome to DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel, so let's get started. All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel, and today I have a special guest, Shantel Cloud. Shantel, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Wow, it's been a long time since we've talked.
Yeah. A few years since the DRC days have passed. A
Yeah.
few things have happened. Yeah.
Let's dive deep into that. Years ago, you and I used to run together to some degree at Dallas Running Club, and it's a lot of fun. You build a lot of really good relationships, and you've always been a very good runner. I've always respected just how you've got better over time. So it's really been fun to watch your journey, and we'll talk a little bit about that today. How about that?
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Now,
You want me to start from the very beginning?
yeah, let's do it. Tell us a little bit about your journey, why you started running, and let's go from there. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's good. I first started running all the way back in middle school. My dad was he's a really talented runner when he was young. And I think that was just my way to bond with him. We want to do things that make our parents proud, but also just draws us closer to them. So I started running, even though I really did not love it, but it just came natural to me. So I never really applied myself. I just showed up for races and did what my dad told me to. And I just didn't love it like
Yeah.
that.
It's hard as a kid.
It is. And like when it's your parents' love and they want you to do so well in it, like I think he saw my potential, but I just
Yeah.
didn't care enough at the time. So
And
in
that's through middle
college,
school and high school,
yeah,
or?
middle school, high school, I did track and cross country. And
Okay.
Albuquerque is a really big running town where I grew up. And so I had all these things at my fingertips that really probably could have set me up well for running when I was
Yeah.
there's so many professional runners that train there, and my coach in high school was a professional runner, and I just didn't take advantage of any of it.
Okay. Like, you were just kind of average runner, or were you a little bit
Yeah, I
above
mean,
average, or?
I was good enough. I feel like I was above average for skipping practice all the time.
Was it 3 miles that you ran in cross country in high school, or was it 2 then?
Yeah. No, it was 3.
Okay.
I don't know if it's different in every state, but in New Mexico, it was 3. And
Well, I'm a little older than you, so whenever I was in high school, the guys was 3 miles and the girls was 2, so
yeah, and
they
I don't know if
changed
that's
that over time.
yeah. When I was running, it was 3 and 3. We did the same thing.
Okay.
Albuquerque was hard because you have that mountain there, and so they'd have
Mhm.
courses. It was like legit cross country. You'd run up the mountain, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was brutal.
Oh,
So
it's great training now when you look back, I'm sure.
it is for sure. And because I didn't even know people ran on the road, I was like, "What is this road running?
That's the way you
I need to be on a trail, real running."
So you did a lot of trail then, obviously in New
Did, yeah,
Mexico.
yeah. Albuquerque just it has them everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm so lucky to grow up around that.
So it's really cool. I love the trails even today. My wife and I get to sometimes go to different countries and stuff, and not just run the trails, but hike them and things. It's been a
That's
lot
so
of fun.
neat.
Yeah.
It is, and I still love running trails. It's a little different here. I get lost easier here because you can't see where you're going. But yeah, then I didn't run in college at all. I just was meandering through life, and then when I was in college, I remember signing up for this. It was a running class. I'm like, really? You could take a running class?
I
It's right up my alley. Where that morning, I went to the class and then I was so excited to tell my dad about it. And I went and called him and I was like, you'll never believe that I'm going to get a grade for just running. And anyways, he was really excited for me and everything. And then that evening, I got a phone call that my dad had passed away. I feel like that really changed the course of everything for me for a few years. Just sent me in a spiral. As you can imagine, a college student, I was not stable at all.
It sounds like it was really unexpected.
Oh my goodness, it was so unexpected.
'Cause you just had a conversation with him and told him, and then he dies
Yeah.
that night.
That
Did I get that?
morning, I told him about this running class, and then that evening is when I got the phone call.
Okay. Wow.
I know. So it was very sudden. He had had a heart attack, and it was just completely unexpected.
Mm.
Anyways, as a 19-year-old, as you can imagine, it just sent me in these like spiral. And so I really didn't run for many years after that. But I feel like that's really what got me back into running was just being able to feel close to him again. And like, even in hard carts and braces now, there's plenty in a marathon. I just started thinking about him and how proud he would be. And, just, I don't know, it just gives you that bonding again, even though he's
Yeah.
not physically here anymore. So,
It's just that memory and the closest memory you've had just from middle school, high school, and that's what he loved and wanted you to do. And so
exactly. Yeah.
makes complete sense to me.
And I can remember him telling me in like high school that he'd run a marathon. And I was like, oh, that's so crazy. I can't believe he ever do that. Because
Look
it
at you
just
now.
sounded so far. And here I am.
Yeah. So take a few years off, college, whatever, you graduate, I assume, and then you start picking up running again just to be were you just doing races or were you just thinking, yeah, let's do some running or
Yeah, I still ran a little bit in college just to move. And
to
then
get through
when
the
I moved
class,
what's that?
to get through the classes?
Right, exactly. So when I moved to Dallas after grad school, I sought out the DRC, and that's when I really started getting back into it.
Okay. Yeah. So what year was that? I started
Oh,
DRC
man.
like 2014, I think.
I think I moved here in 2011.
Okay.
So it was right then.
Before me, yeah. And so you
Like,
stayed in there a few years then.
yeah, I was there for a few years. At first, I was just an attendee, and
Yeah.
then eventually I was on board for a couple years. I don't think I really added much value because I was like 23, 24. I just had no clue anything that I was doing.
It's probably a good learning experience, right? When
It
you look
was for
back.
sure. It was great. I loved it. And just the people I got to meet, I still keep in touch with a lot of them. And then eventually I moved on to doing some of the pace leading in the training groups. So that was super fun. And I think
I think that I did that too, and that taught me a ton.
it
Just
really did.
you start focusing in a little bit more than just yourself,
Mhm.
and you really start, or just how I saw it is, you really start thinking about the group, and then looking at their times and them accomplishing different things. So that was fun.
Yeah, it was multifaceted because not only
Yep.
did you get to get your training in,
Yep.
but you're also like helping other people accomplish their goals and just making friendships throughout the whole process. Because, running 20 miles together, you got to talk about a lot of things.
Running 20 miles period is hard to do by yourself all the time, and
Mhm.
having that group and team community to run with and just call somebody, hey, I've got 20 miles tomorrow or in a few days, want to run with me and stuff like that. All those relationships you build.
Yeah, no, it was great. And I can't remember exactly how many years I did it, but it was probably 4 or 5. And then we moved out to Grapevine. And again,
Before we go to
yeah,
Grapevine,
sorry.
because, I think that there's probably a little bit more, did you run marathons like before that? Or when was your first?
Sorry. I'd always done like 5Ks and maybe in 10K here and there.
Yeah.
And then when I started with DRC is when I started thinking like, oh, like I think I might be capable of doing a marathon. And I had done a half. I'd done a half that I didn't train for, and it was awful. I remember my very first half that I did, I was in college and I didn't take water at a single water stop. I was so dehydrated by the end of the race and was like cramping. And I was like, what is happening to me? I don't know what I did wrong.
Drink some water.
And then obviously now I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I didn't drink any water for 13 miles. But you do learn more every single one of these races that you do.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I joined DRC is when I thought I could probably do a marathon. And so I started training for Dallas as my first one. But again, I had no clue what I was doing. I didn't foam roll, I didn't stretch, I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And so I just I think I was about to do a 17-mile run. And my leg just like my hip area, and it's still like the area that I struggle with the most. It just was so tight and I couldn't run.
Like
And so I
that, like
went,
during the run or just the beginning, you couldn't do it?
yeah, the beginning. I just had to call it. And so, I ended up not doing that race because I really wanted to qualify for Boston. It was a big goal for me. I wanted to qualify on my first marathon.
So you're like, forget this marathon then.
We're gonna get a different one. And so in the spring I signed up for that Mountain to Beach one out in California,
Yeah.
which I just love that race.
And that was your
So
first.
that ended up being my first. And come to find out, if you foam roll and stretch, you can run. So
Your hips don't hurt as much.
and, yeah. So that was my very first one.
And did you qualify?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
I ended up hitting a wall pretty hard at mile 20. And I gave in to the urge to walk, and you just can't recover after that.
That's right. And I think that's a good lesson, Chantel, is a lot of people, no matter how good they are, you obviously have a ton of talent. And I think a lot of us knew this. People just get better over time. But sometimes your first marathon is
Yeah.
just run that first marathon. Don't have these huge kind of expectations because you've never done it before. You don't know what it's like to hit mile 20 and then hit a wall, which is
Yeah.
my thing. Because I've seen so many people in DRC, yeah, I'm going to run my first marathon and I'm going to qualify for Boston. Because maybe you have talent and things. I was like, but let's just run that first marathon. Let's enjoy it because you don't know what it's like. And sometimes it will take people 5 to 7 years because your body's got to get used to some of that stuff, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's okay to have big goals, but maybe have a B goal just in case, especially for your first marathon. It's hard to dream big sometimes with marathons. It's scary to put yourself out there. Even if you don't get that goal, like you're still finishing the race, which obviously was the
100%.
ultimate goal.
Yeah. Good point. And I'm not saying don't have that goal. You just don't know what's going to happen in your first marathon.
Yeah, for
Just
sure.
don't.
And I mean, I can tell you every single marathon that I've done, my body recovers quicker. And I think it's just the way that we adapt to each of these races. Because that first one, it took me a long time to recover from. Where now it's like a couple days, even after like a huge PR race, it's still just a couple days. And that's if you're doing everything the right way, which
That's
I
right.
wasn't at the time.
What is is you went to that first marathon, what did you learn and what did you think differently and how did you adjust?
Yeah, I think I set that big goal. And so I think I went out too fast. And even if you go out 10 seconds per mile too fast, like it can come back and bite you hard at the very end. And so I think I just didn't know about negative splitting.
Yeah.
That's really what you want to do. And so in that first one, I was like, oh, I need to like bank as much time as I can. So when I'm tired at the end, I can, relax a little bit. And that is not what happened.
Is baking time a real thing, especially in a marathon or longer?
It never worked for me. I don't know if other people are able to manage that, but it has never worked for me. I do much better if I am conservative at the beginning and put it in a different gear towards the end.
Completely makes sense to me.
Yeah. So
you did this first marathon and you learned some things. What was next? I mean, as you remember.
Yeah, it's so hard to remember each race, but because
I'm not going to go through every single race,
No.
but just I
think I did Dallas that fall. No, I did not do Dallas that fall. So I didn't qualify at that first one, and I came back the next year and did the same Mountains to Deep race again, and I did qualify on my second try.
Nice.
So then after I qualified, I went and ran Boston, which was huge. It was just a lifelong goal at that point for me to run Boston. And my mom came and my husband came and my sister-in-law came. We all shared one brame together because it's so expensive.
It is expensive. It is.
This was back in 2015 is when I ran it.
Yeah.
And it was an awesome race. It was misty and cold and I don't know. You just never know what weather you're going to get for Boston, I feel. And so it wasn't like a great spectating year, but it was a great running year.
That's really what matters.
Yes. Yes.
For you.
Running.
And how'd you do in Boston?
I did. I ended up setting a PR in Boston.
Wow.
Which it was a 3:17 was my PR for the longest time. I feel like I made huge jumps initially, and then I was stuck at 3:15 to 3:17 for years.
It's funny because you PR'd at Boston, and that's not. I've seen people PR, but it's not an easy course at all. I know it's technically a net downhill, but it's not an easy course from what I've seen for most people.
Yeah. I think I benefited from the course, honestly, because at the beginning it's so crowded with everybody. And so it slows you down, makes you run a little more conservative when you're like jammed in there with everybody. And I knew that mile 20 and Heartbreak Hill were coming. And so after that, I felt like I could just go. Yeah. Because it had cleared out a little bit by then. So
it doesn't ever feel like it's like clear, but yeah, you're right.
Yes.
You get all these big races like Boston or Chicago or whatever. It's crazy.
I know. It is.
Hey, by the way, the only reason I know is just I watch my wife run these things. I don't really,
Yeah, no, she has done Boston so many times, it's
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah. So you get some PRs and things or for Boston and things. I want to fast forward. Fast forward. So you get married and then you have 3 kids. There you
Yes,
have
3 kids.
twins, right? And
Yeah.
so let's fast forward to there and then just that mentality because now it feels like you're a better runner now. I'm not saying the work that you've had to put in and things like that. I want to hear about some of that stuff.
Yeah. So really, it's not that much of a fast forward because I had my first daughter in 2016, and so after her, I'd been stuck at 3:15 or 3:17, and then I had her, and I got back into running shape, and then I ran Dallas and ran a 3:15, and then I was twin, and to get back into running shape. And after I had the twin, I went and had PT for like pelvic floor stuff, which I
Wow.
feel like every woman should do after having a child because our bodies go through this like huge trauma. Someone breaks their finger and they go to PT. I'm like, why aren't they sending ladies to PT after having children? But anyways, I feel like that alone set me up to be successful after kids.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, just re-strengthening everything, making sure all the muscles are triggering and just working together. Because if you had just one muscle that has most of the load that it's not supposed to have, then you're gonna get injured. I feel like PT was huge for me after having the twin. And then I came back and ran another 3:15 at the Made Marathon.
Stuck
So
there, huh?
I was just I don't know if I was necessarily stuck or if I had plateaued, but
Right.
I think just, like, the roller coaster of having kids and, like, getting back into it every time, that seemed to
Yeah,
be
I'm sure
where
of
I
it.
get myself
But,
to.
that's I think that's fun. You did have kids and, I really love the story of you going to be PT, and I've not heard a lot of women doing that, right? Maybe it happens a lot, I don't know, but I like that advice, and people do get stuck at certain
Mhm.
times because then there's the breakthrough. In general, if you're consistent and you're focused and it sounds like that now you have somebody helping you train and things like that,
Mhm.
you can break through, and we'll hear about that in a minute, right?
Yes, yeah, and really, I feel like having kids set me up for just the breakthrough that you were talking about, because there's just something about, like, the early years with infant twins and a two-year-old at home that, like, it just tested me mentally. I had to set, like, mini goals every day, make it until my husband comes home, and then make
Yeah.
it until tomorrow where, like, the two-year-old will go to school and I can just have the twin. Running is that too. It's like, "Alright, just make it to mile 18. Alright, just make it to mile 19." It's like setting tiny goals that are attainable
By the
so
way,
that they.
you're a working mom too, right?
No, I do not.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
About to
The
say, but
second
to
the
be
second
wrong.
we had twins,
Okay.
it was all hands on
No
deck.
way.
No.
Got it.
We don't have family that lives nearby, so, it
That'd be really
was all
difficult.
but, yeah, after I'm trying to remember exactly when it was. I just felt like I was at a plateau, and I don't know if you wanna get into the coaching and the breakthrough.
Let's do it.
Okay. Whenever USATF had that half marathon championship at Cowtown, it was
Sure.
just a year and a half ago,
Yeah.
close to 2 years ago now. We were there cheering, and we're watching all the elite athletes just fly by us,
Mhm.
and I recognized one of them. And so I was, like, cheering for him, and I was like, "Go Shadrach!" And, of course, like, he running in a place that he doesn't really know anybody, and who knows my name? And he
Yeah.
turned around, and it's me, and we had run together in high school, and he had a very successful running career. He'd been a professional runner for, I don't know, 10 to 20 years, somewhere in that range. And so I had kept up with his running career and everything, and I knew he had started coaching, but I thought it was just elite people. I didn't know if he was taking just hobby marathoners, I guess. This is what.
Kinda hobby, but you
Yes.
do it a lot. So let's
I really feel like it was just fate that
yeah.
because I wasn't really looking for a running coach. I just been satisfied with staying at 3:15 forever, and so when I
Really? You were really just satisfied with it? Or you were
yeah,
just like,
I just wasn't getting any better on my own, and
yeah.
so I wasn't sure if I really wanted or needed a coach,
Mm.
but when I saw him and, knew that he was coaching and he offered to coach me, then I was like, "Let's do it. Let's see where this goes."
Would you have a conversation with him during when you were at Cowtown, or you just later
I
talk to
just
him
talked to him
about it?
after the race. 'Cause, like, he we'd seeing each other at Cowtown, and so it just sparked up a conversation after the race. And yeah, I've been using him for about a year and a half now. And that very first marathon that I did with him was Mounts to Beach again. I
Yeah,
think I've done it 3 times. I just love that race.
that's
Uh,
awesome.
and he took me down to a 3:06 right away.
So let's back up. So what kind of things did you change because of him, like before, during
Yeah.
that training cycle?
Really, I think it was just someone else giving me cases that I didn't
Hmm.
think I was capable of.
So it's right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love that.
He gave me some pretty unattainable track paces. And I can't hit him a lot of time, but
Sure.
just the fact that I'm going faster than I would normally push myself,
The
I think
speed
is
is
a
what
huge.
really sounds like some of the speed work is really what helped.
Yeah, it helped immensely. And just knowing that somebody's watching and you don't want to let them down or uh,
Pressure's always can be a
right.
good thing.
Yeah. I felt like he had faith in me to take me on, and so I didn't want to let him down.
I love that. All right, so you go to Mountains to Beach and you run a 3:06. You must have put it in another gear and was like, I'm gonna do this and just let it go.
I think he had pushed me so hard in training, and I wasn't running any more miles than I'd already been running. It was still
Yeah.
like mid-50s every week, but just faster paces. Like the
Yeah.
quality was better, and easy days were still super easy. That never changed, but just
Hmm.
the days that we're doing workout were much harder. And so honestly, I feel like the 3:06 was just a huge surprise to me. Like, it was
Was
a
it?
true breakthrough because I remember calling him after that race just in shock that I could run that.
Yeah.
'Cause I think my goal was just to go under 3:10.
Good job.
Yeah. Yeah. And crazy. I did not having a coach has been amazing. Having somebody believe in something that you can do that you don't think is possible is just
That's interesting. I love that. One is you must have respected him a lot and then him knowing your potential, and then you actually blowing out your potential in a lot of
right.
ways.
Yeah.
We'll go into it more to even show you even killed it, even as of recent. But so I want to go back to a recent race you had back in February, Cowtown. So I always think that these local races are always fun, and especially like I think you got second place overall in the marathon in Cowtown, or was it?
So
Can't
I
remember.
broke the tape because I was the first to cross the line, but Elizabeth Northern, she was chasing the 3:10 group,
Yeah.
and I think she ran a 3:08, but they
Okay.
had her in corral too. So technically, I was the overall winner. But if you look at chip time, then her time was faster.
Got it. So who won?
I get the title.
Okay, good. No, well, I wasn't. So I saw that too, and I was like, because I thought you won it, and then as a matter of fact, right before this, I looked and I was like, wait, that's somebody
Yeah.
else's name. What? I don't. Did I miss something? So that makes more sense.
Yes. Yeah. No, I broke the tape, so I got the overall title. But for some reason, they had 3:10 starting in the second corral.
Got it.
So
So you actually hit a 3:11, right? Is that right?
y yeah, I mean, that race was so hot.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And I like, honestly, I was disappointed in my time because 'cause I'd still been working with my coach,
Don't feel like you should have been, but anyways,
but I knew I was in better shape than what my time would suggest, but it was so hot that I went pretty conservative, and I'm glad I did because it paid off.
I feel like I can't really race against time necessarily with Dallas potential heat and especially the
Mhm.
humidity. If you have 80% humidity and it's 70 degrees or whatever, there's just got to be realistic.
Yeah,
That's just, I think, of course, it's not your best or your potential best, but that's what the day gives you.
right.
We still
And
want,
I think that yeah, but I embraced it. Like, this is what I've been given, so let's just don't kill yourself and
yeah,
die at the end because that's just the worst feeling. So, I had friends that came and cheered and surprised me, and
that's awesome.
I know, it was amazing. They met me on the course with some frozen towels, and it was just such a hot day.
Yeah.
But it was crazy because that morning, my son, he's 6 now, but he was 5 at the time, and he was like, "Mommy, there's no in between with 5-year-olds, it's very black and white." And he was like, "Are you gonna win tomorrow?" I was like, "No, I'm not gonna win." But like a top 5 would be great. I feel like I'm
Yeah.
in top 5 shape. And during the race, I was in like 3rd for a lot of it. And I was like, "Oh my goodness, this would be amazing," because they never get to come to my races. I'm usually out of town for them, and
Yeah.
so my family was there. And that would be so cool if I got 3rd place with my kids watching me finish this thing. And so it just kept me going, and I just kept
That's
pushing
awesome. I
on.
love
And
that.
then eventually, people were like, "Oh, you're in 2nd place." I'm like, "What?"
You don't remember seeing the or you don't remember passing them, or?
I don't know. Maybe it was somebody that was in the half and they just thought that she was, but eventually
But
I was like,
she wasn't, there was nobody there to pass because they were in the house. That makes sense.
yeah, never passed anybody between someone saying that I was 3rd and 2nd. So
Yeah.
I don't know what happened, but I was in 2nd for a lot of it. And I was just blown away that I was in 2nd place because I never thought that I
Gotta
would
keep you
be,
going though.
yeah, for sure. I never thought that I would be at the top of a bigger hometown race. And then by, like, mile 25, I could see the lead girl with,
Wow.
yeah, with the
Oh, that's so
motorcycle
awesome.
and,
Yep.
like, the big bike and everything.
Yep.
And I felt my heart rate, like, immediately go up. I was like, "Oh,
No.
just"
Stay calm, beat this woman.
Yes, exactly. And I could
25,
tell,
you saw her?
yeah, it was
Wow.
very close to the end. And so I don't think I passed her until 25 and a half.
Wow. But I'm sure that gave you some motivation, right? To
It did for sure, and I tapped into my old cross country days when
Mm,
fake it till you make it. Like, you're passing somebody, you act like you feel great
yeah,
just to make them feel worse. So,
competitiveness. I
yeah,
love it.
I could tell that she was dying, and it was hot. I was dying too, but I was faking it, and I passed her. I got to run with the lead bike and the lead motorcycle cop and stuff for a little bit, which was really cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Is that the first race you've run races, but not anything like that, right?
Yeah, I've never won something that big, so that was huge for me. It was awesome, especially coming down that, like, finishing chute with my kid there, all cheering for me, and some of my friends were still there, and they, like, ushered us into the elite tent and everything. I was, like, on top of the world. It was awesome.
Oh, wow. Wow. How
Yeah.
fun is that? That's really cool. And your kids got to see you win and win.
Yeah, yeah. Actually asked, "Are you gonna win?" And now that's the question I get at every
Yeah.
race that tweet. "Are you gonna win?" I'm like,
Maybe.
"So."
I think it all depends who shows up. Two is, but also depends on how you feel that day. It's a lot, you have the ability, obviously, to really potentially win almost any race that you run, especially in Dallas Fort Worth.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
It's great. And by the way, I remember I saw that you won and I went to, oh my God, you won this race. That's awesome. Because I knew you. And I thought that was really pretty special. And so I remember that for a while. And it just to see, I know it wasn't your best time, but still hone in on that potential to actually make a reality of how good you really are. And so just recently, though, you've tapped into another gear at CIM. Tell me about this. This was a month ago or a few weeks ago? I don't remember.
Yeah, it was just 2 weeks ago. Yeah, so my kids are old enough now where they all are in school. This
Yeah.
my first half of a school year with all of them in school full time.
Great. Now you get to really train.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what happened. I was able to really concentrate. I started working with a nutritionist, which I feel like was a big difference maker
Why
too.
didn't you do this 5 years ago?
I know. I'm like, why
Yeah.
not do this when I was younger?
Yeah.
I felt like age was starting to catch up with me a little bit. I was like gaining a little weight, and I'm like, why am I gaining weight when I'm still running so much? And again, I was just like content. I guess this is just my life now. And then I was like, you know what? Let's give it a
Set
go.
thinking there.
I
How
know.
you think differently. I love
I
it.
know. And so I decided to hire a nutritionist. And I don't know if you've heard of NutriWork.
Yeah.
They're local. But Maria at NutriWorks, she's been amazing. And again, just knowing that someone was like watching, because I would track everything that I was eating. And I knew she was watching what I was eating. I felt amazing on every workout. I feel like I recovered easier. Just being like very intentional with how I was fueling, not just for races, but for
Just
training.
every single day. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
And so I feel like that was probably the biggest difference on this race. And then, of course, still working with my coach. I feel like I have a whole team now for the
I think that's the way to do it. How do you continue to get better and better? And you added the coach, then you added the nutritionist, and tell us what happened.
Yeah, training went awesome. Of course, I had to do all the recovery things now that I'm getting older, but I feel like I was very intentional with fueling and recovery and sleep. So all the things finally came together for me. And I truly did not believe that I could break 3 hours until maybe a week before the race.
Like you were thinking that before the race. Wow. Okay.
Be looking at like my next goal race. Like maybe I do it in the next one. Maybe
Yeah.
I just get closer to 3 on this one. Because there's something about running under a 7-minute mile for that long
Yeah.
that just I was like, man, that seems so impossible to me. And
It's
so
mental again, though. You're playing
it
mental
is.
games.
It
You
is.
know, we
I
all
feel
do,
like
by the way.
having my coach tell me like you're ready was
Yeah.
the final thing I needed to hear to go for it. Because he's not a guy that would give you false hope. If he didn't think I was ready, he would have told me, like, let target a different race to do this
Mm.
at. And so I just took a leap of faith, and I feel like I still started the race conservatively. I started
Yeah.
at like 7-minute miles just to see how my body was going to respond that day. Because you just never know. Even as much work and training as we put into it, you just don't know how your body's going to feel. Sevens felt like jogging. Oh,
That's awesome.
I started picking it up little at a time. Started doing like 650 here and there. And then by halfway, I was like, I feel amazing. Let's keep chipping away. And I went down a little bit more to 645 from 640 and just zone out the rest of the race. I don't remember seeing anybody. I don't
Oh,
remember what the scenery looked like. I couldn't tell you a single thing about it except that I was just grinding. And so I ended up running a 2:58.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing, Chinto. Like, where you've just, the story just continues to get better. Watch or listening to this and just watching you over your running career and how I've known you, like, you've just changed. And I think you have to do that. You went from running just DRC, which was really good for you, but then eventually you get a coach because you were stuck at that 315, how that actually turned out, and then get a nutritionist and you go to another, like, you went from level to a better level to a better level. I love that. And and a lot of times that in runners, if they continue to do what you've done, right? You just learn and get better. And a lot of times, sometimes our own mental thinking gets in the way, which it's all of us. Like, none of us are going to be like elite runners per se. We could be good runners. And like for you, you're winning races and you've had a few babies and you've had to go through all that. Like, you've had to go through life just like everybody else. And you continue to get better as you get older. How
Yeah.
awesome is that?
I know.
Like,
It really is incredible. And I'm hoping that my kids see me persevering through
yeah,
all this. That's really what I want to gain. Like times are great and all,
yeah,
but I want my kids to like see, oh, mommy like had goals and she's attaining a lot of them. And so I don't know. I feel like it's teaching them life lessons because it's definitely still teaching me life lessons. Every race,
obviously.
I feel like I just learned something more.
I'm sure that your kids, look, they're young, but they're already proud of you and they probably want to be like mommy. And I think you're just teaching them the right things.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. Chantel, that's all I have time for today, but this has been amazing for
Thank
coming
you.
on today.
I appreciate you. It was so great talking to you.
Yeah, you too. And thank you everyone for tuning in to another DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel. And again, thank you, Chantel.
Thanks.
All right.